You can understand your patterns. You can know what a healthy boundary looks like. You can recognize your people pleasing. You can be rebuilding self-trust. You can listen to 13 episodes of Unlearning the Good Girl and think, yep, I got this. I'm doing this. And then somebody you love gets upset with you. And suddenly, everything you've learned feels a whole lot harder to practice. Last time we talked about being the woman who doesn't abandon herself anymore. And I told you that you don't wake up one morning and magically become her. You practice being her. You build evidence that you can trust yourself. You start keeping promises to yourself. You make different choices in small moments. Today, I want to talk to you about what happens when making those different choices gets hard. Because it will. Real life is going to show up. And that's where all of this gets tested. It doesn't mean you fail. Even if you fall back into old patterns, you don't fail. It's all information. It's all growth. It's really easy to believe in boundaries when you're listening to a podcast about boundaries. It's easier to tell yourself you're going to stop over-explaining when nobody's questioning your decision. And it's empowering to say, I'm not responsible for everyone else's emotions. And then someone you love has very big emotions about a decision you've made. Now what? Your mother sounds disappointed. Your partner gets quiet. Your adult child is struggling. Your friend doesn't respond the way you expected. Your boss asks for one more thing when you're already overwhelmed. Somebody says you've changed, or you've never had a problem with this before. Maybe they don't even say anything. They just have a tone or a look. And if you're someone who spent years reading rooms and monitoring emotions, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Suddenly your brain starts going, was that wrong? Did I hurt them? Should I explain? Maybe I should just do it. Maybe this boundary isn't that important. Maybe this isn't even a boundary at all. Maybe I'm just being mean. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of this. And there she is, the old version of you. She's ready. She knows exactly how to make this discomfort disappear. For a second. She'll say yes, she'll fix it, she'll apologize, she'll explain, make them comfortable again, but make you feel like the enemy. But this is also a great place to interrupt this pattern, because discomfort is often where self-abandonment happens fastest. You may know better and still do the old thing. And that's okay. Because knowing better and still having the pattern is part of the process. The quicker you can start to interrupt that pattern, to stop it in its tracks, the better you're going to be. But you have to be aware that that pattern is happening, and you have to be able to see it. So here's how I tell clients all the time. This is how you do this. You're going through your day and somebody's upset with you now. They're having big emotions. They're not respecting your boundary, whatever. And instantly you say, oh, never mind. I got this. It's no big deal. And then an hour later you go, oh, crap. Wasn't going to do that. I was stopping this. And so this is where you interrupt the pattern. You don't beat yourself up and you don't go, well, I screwed it all up. I can't set another boundary until tomorrow. I'm never going to do this. That's not what you do. You say, okay, it's all right. What should I have said or could I have said instead of agreeing and taking it on? What did I want that to look like? And then you replay the conversation and you tell your brain, you are teaching your brain now what that looks like, what you wanted it to look like. And you go, cool, that's what I want to do next time. Okay. So 2 days later, something similar happens. And maybe you say, okay, no big deal. I got this. And you do it for them anyway. And then 30 minutes later, you realize, oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, cool. No problem. Now you've cut the time in half. You've hit that pattern interruption and you're like, oh, I caught it quicker. Next time I'm going to catch it quicker. And I'm going to do the same step. I'm going to tell myself what I wanted it to look like, how I wanted to interrupt that pattern. And you're going to do it. And then you're going to do it again. And then you're going to do it again. And then eventually you're going to catch it in the moment. You're going to go, wait, this is not how we do this. I am not saying yes to this. I am not agreeing to this. I'm going to say, I'm sorry. That doesn't work for me. And I told you no. I can't do this right now. I do not have the capacity. And you're going to walk away from the conversation. They're going to be left to deal with their own emotions. Let them do their own work. Let them be mad at you. Let them be upset. Let them cry. Let them tell you you're mean. Because you know what? You're doing the work. You don't know how many times I tell clients in a week that it's because you're doing the work that they're upset. One of the best things that my old boss ever told me or taught me is that when we do the work on ourselves, when we start to get healthy on the inside, mentally, emotionally, other people resent it because they're not doing the work. They sense it and they resent it. But that's their resentment to own. We don't shrink to make them feel better. We stand up taller. We say, oh, no. This is where I get my power, and this is what happens. This is why we go through the practice so that we can catch it sooner, so that we don't have to continue to live in other people's discomfort. That's their work to do. We don't beat ourselves up for doing it. We don't beat ourselves up for agreeing if we decide to agree. And we definitely don't beat ourselves up for holding true to our boundary. We take it as information. This is good data for us. This is why you hire a coach or you seek some help, because doing this alone can be very difficult. But doing it in a group, in a community, with a coach one-to-one, any of those things, then you have accountability. You have help. You have partners that are going to check in with you. Even if it's a one-to-one coach, they're going to check back in with you. Hey, how are you doing with that? Did you hold firm? When it comes to the holidays and you are the one that always plans them and you said you weren't going to do that this year, that coach can say, hey, are you planning the Thanksgiving meal or did you pass that on to somebody else and volunteer to bring the sweet potatoes? That's what it's about. That's what it looks like to work with someone. The goal is always to catch yourself sooner. It's not about being perfect. And there's a lot of women that believe progress means the old pattern disappears. And I'm going to be really upfront. That's an unforgiving way to measure growth. Try measuring your growth by how quickly you noticed it, how quickly you made that shift, how quickly you started correcting yourself. Because if you don't correct yourself in the moment, that's okay, but you correct yourself soon afterwards. You do some evaluations. And trust me, this is the work that we do. And I still struggle with these things. I still have times where I'm like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted to say. That wasn't what I wanted to agree to. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay. Number one, how do I fix it? Can I fix it? Can I change it? Can I go back? Can I go back and say no? Can I do it gracefully and kindly? A lot of times I can't, and a lot of times I do. But if I can't, then I put my big girl panties on and I suck it up and I say, let's go. You're doing this. You agreed, you're doing it. But if I can go back and gracefully bow out, I'm going to do that too because it honors me. How do I look at things? It's all about how you are honoring you and how you're looking at things. You don't have to answer requests immediately either. You're allowed to think about them. You're allowed to give yourself time and space to decide if it's really what you want. So there's another piece that I really want to dig into. And sometimes choosing yourself will feel wrong. And I know that surprises people. We assume that if a choice is healthy, it should feel peaceful. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it absolutely does. And sometimes a healthy choice feels awful at first. You can set an appropriate boundary and feel guilty. You can tell the truth and feel anxious. You can allow someone to solve their own problem and feel selfish. You can rest and feel lazy. You can say no and spend an hour wondering whether you should change your mind. The presence of discomfort doesn't automatically tell you whether the decision was healthy or even right. Sometimes that discomfort simply tells you this is unfamiliar. So think about your conditioning. If being a good woman meant being available, choosing your own time may trigger guilt. If love meant fixing things for people, letting another adult handle their problem may feel uncaring. If kindness meant keeping everyone comfortable, honesty may feel harsh. Of course, those choices feel uncomfortable. You're asking your brain and your body to respond differently than they've responded for years. So instead of immediately asking, why do I feel guilty? Try asking this. Does this guilt mean I violated my values? Or does it mean I violated an old expectation? Does this guilt mean I violated my values? Did I do something that's out of character for me and that I don't necessarily agree with? Did I lose my temper? If I did, maybe I need to go back and apologize for that part. Maybe I do owe them an apology for that. Or does it mean that I said no kindly, but they expected me to say yes because I've always done that in the past? And now I've changed their expectation and they're upset and I feel like I need to own it. I feel like it's my weight to carry and it's not. And if it's the second part, then you absolutely take that back off of you and set it down and let them deal with it. You don't have to deal with it. This is where breathing comes in. You can do some breathing to get your nervous system back into regulation. You can meditate. You can go for a walk, whatever you need to get your nervous system back into regulation so that you aren't going to automatically take that guilt, wear it, and then fix whatever they need fixing. So here's another question that I use when we're doing this kind of work, and that's this. What part of this belongs to me? Let's say someone is upset with you. Before you rush in and fix it, slow down. What belongs to me? Maybe you communicated poorly. Okay, own that. Maybe you forgot something important. Own that. Maybe you said something hurtful. Apologize. Accountability matters. And even if you did those things, you can still hold firm in your boundary. You can apologize for saying it poorly or not communicating it well and still say, but this is my boundary. It's okay. And if you communicated respectfully and they simply didn't like your answer, their disappointment belongs to them. That's how you do this. You can care about them, you can listen, you can clarify if you want or need to, but you don't have to change your boundary to make their emotion disappear. This is where compassion and boundaries live together, not just for them, but for you. This is something that I believe a lot of women need permission to practice. And it does take practice. And I want to make this really clear too, because I never want to reduce this work to just say no to everybody. Choosing yourself doesn't always mean saying no. Sometimes your honest answer is yes. Maybe you're tired, but somebody you love really needs you, and being there deeply aligns with your values. You get to choose the yes. Maybe something is inconvenient, but it's important to you. Choose the yes. Maybe helping somebody brings you joy. That's beautiful. The difference is that you're included in the decision. Your capacity gets considered. Your values matter. Your needs matter. Your desires, they matter. You're no longer absent from your own decision making. That's the difference. That's how we do this. Now, I want you to think about something. Who are you around when you abandon yourself the fastest? Because most of us don't do this equally everywhere. Maybe you're incredibly confident professionally, you lead a team, you make big decisions, you have no trouble saying, no, that's not going to work. Then your mother calls, and suddenly you're 12. Maybe you can advocate fiercely for your children, but you can't advocate for yourself. Maybe you have excellent boundaries with acquaintances, but one friendship where you constantly overgive. Maybe you're great at asking for what you need at work, but terrified of asking for it in your marriage. That's all information. Pay attention to where the pattern gets louder, because that's often where there's something deeper underneath of it. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's from your past, maybe it's fear, maybe it's an identity that you've been carrying around for decades, maybe an old belief about what you have to do to stay loved. That's where the deeper work lives. You don't need a notebook for every episode of this series, but this is one I'd probably earmark and come back to, because I want you to think about these slowly. Where or with who do I abandon myself the fastest? What usually happens immediately before I do abandon myself? What emotion am I trying to avoid in that moment? And then ask, what am I afraid will happen if I stay with myself instead? So if I'm feeling conflicted and I'm feeling like I hurt somebody because I did say no, or because I didn't take on what they wanted me to take on, but I don't have the capacity, what am I afraid will happen? I would actually ask myself is, when I fall back into an old pattern, how do I treat myself afterwards? But I would actually ask myself, what will happen if I go back to the old pattern, if I cave, and what will happen if I stay with this decision? And here's the important piece. We're allowed to win. We feel like everything's a game, right? We feel like, oh, I gave in, they won, I lost. We're allowed to be the one that actually wins. So don't discount that. You're trying to build a relationship with yourself. And if every mistake becomes evidence that you can't be trusted, you're going to keep damaging the very relationship you're trying to repair. You need to become someone you can return to, someone who can say, okay, that wasn't what I wanted. I see what happened. What am I learning from this? What do I want to do now? What would I have liked to have seen it look like? That's accountability with compassion, and that's how you resolve it. And that's really what I want you to take away today. You're going to have messy moments. You're going to have old reactions. There will probably be another automatic yes, another unnecessary apology, another time when somebody's tone sends you into overthinking. The work is learning to recognize, oh, I'm leaving myself right now. I don't answer this way. I don't respond like this. I don't take this on. And then come back. Maybe you come back by changing your answer. Maybe you come back by telling the truth. Maybe you come back by letting someone be disappointed or asking yourself what you actually need. Maybe coming back means admitting, I need help with this pattern. That's allowed too. And if you're listening today and you're thinking, okay, Jen, I'm recognizing myself all over this series, but I don't even know the places to start or where I'm doing this, don't just keep listening and hope awareness magically changes it. Start doing something with what you're learning. Go to www.thankfulheartscoaching.com/choose you and download the Where Am I Abandoning Myself reflection guide. Then open it and use it. Answer the questions honestly. Let it show you where those patterns are appearing in your life, because that's where this starts becoming personal. And here's the other thing. If you've already downloaded it, but you're still listening and you're still like, I don't know, I've kind of done some of the work, but I've downloaded it. I think that there's a low-cost call in there that you could book with me, and we can start making progress on it, and we can start talking about what it looks like to make this really happen for you. Book that call. Don't hesitate. Book the call. And if you're really struggling and you're like, I can't book that call, reach out to me at thankfulheartscoaching@gmail. Ask the question. I may not be able to go back and forth for days answering the questions, but let's talk about it. Let's have a real conversation and let's see what we can do together. Because this is about you making progress and I can help you with that. So, we've had 13 episodes on this solo podcast, and we're going to leave it at that for right now. We're going to call this season 1. I'm going to go back and retitle them all on the podcast and make them season 1. I also have a playlist that I've put together of all of the episodes. So if you would like easy access to all of the episodes, shoot me a quick email and tell me you want that, and I will send it to you. Just shooting me an email, thankfulheartscoaching@gmail.com. Just tell me, I've been listening to them. I'd love to have access to all of them very quickly. Let me know. I'll send you a playlist with all 13 in it. And then when I start recording new ones again, they will pop back into that playlist. So there will be more. And I just want to leave you with one question before I go from this solo series. How quickly are you willing to come back to yourself? Maybe that's what growth looks like right now. You notice, you come back, and eventually staying with yourself starts to become familiar. Thank you for taking these 13 weeks with me, and I will see you soon.